and it can be difficult to do because this is a file that is hosted across a large number of places. It will be downloaded from those. To prevent it being done, you'd have to update all of those, and that's going to be difficult in its own right. So I do see that there will be problems continuing and new problems arising over probably the next few days before things start getting sorted out.
Okay, for viewers who are just joining us, James, just remind us what we believe has happened and the implications of it around the world.
A driver file, that's a file that helps certain hardware or certain software to work on your computer, deployed by Falcon Crowdstrike, which is a cybersecurity tool used to protect computers from attacks. Appears to have been corrupted somehow. We don't know exactly how yet. And when a computer tries to boot with it, it puts it into what's known as the blue screen of death, where you can't do anything. Now, this requires a manual fix by a person to recover from. So it's not as simple as rolling back the update or sending out a new update. It requires someone to actually interact with that computer. And since this is such a widely used tool in very important systems, this is having a lot of knock-on effects.
So, what exactly has gone wrong? My colleague Nikki Schiller spoke to the tech expert Dan Sodergen.
I'd like to say it's likely to not be malicious. I mean, don't quote me on that, but I think the idea that it's a cyber attack, I mean, it might be a very, very well planned one, and maybe people knew that would cause a huge amount of disruption if they did it now. But actually, I think it's more likely to be a human being and more likely to be a team of people that were trying to rush an update before they went on holiday, ironically enough. And therefore this software update that has gone out, as you say, it's likely, but maybe not 100% to be Crowdstrike, will have affected it had an issue, so we say, with the Azure thing behind the scene, which of course is Microsoft's cloud platform. And because Microsoft's such a huge company, which is a global monopoly, it means it touches pretty much everything. I think that's most probably one of the bigger things is we've got to start looking at, is that idea of a centralized, I mean, don't get me wrong, this is not Microsoft bashing, it's just the idea alone that you can have one company and one point of failure that can affect so much. Luckily for us all, of course, it's not completely Microsoft, and therefore there is competition in the market, and therefore there are other providers that so the whole place, the whole world isn't crippled. But if you're working from home, and a lot more of us do in the future of work, and we're working globally and we're working online more and more, this kind of thing happening will be costing billions of dollars. And I suppose the question for us all is who fits the bill? Because who puts the bill? Because when you see this BSOD, this blue screen of death, is that an act of God? And I don't think it is it? It's an act of it's an act of software going under or going down. But who do you claim? Can you claim it on the insurance? They're the big questions for tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned that Microsoft blue screen of death. If it is an update that has got a rogue file in and has hit the computer and we've got the blue screen there, how do you go about fixing it when it is in that sort of loop of blue screen of death, can't do anything?
Well, again, I'm not into the kind of cybersecurity or the tech update side. I'm afraid you'd have to talk to Microsoft. And of course, ironically, of course, you most probably can't, right? So one of the things you've got to start doing is maybe using non-Microsoft things to find the fix. But the reality is, just like it was with myself when Teams had a problem last week, the reality is that this is down to Microsoft and the company. Now, my guess is that all they're going to do is they're going to stop that update. They're going to roll it back to a previous update that Crowdstrike or other people may have done and roll the whole system back. And it may sound like an oversimplification, which it most probably is, but it literally is going to be turning it all off and on again and then hoping it resets the whole global system. It might just be as simple as that. However, I wouldn't want, there are thousands of people and millions of hours that are going to be going into making sure that this is a solution that comes to you really quickly. So I would say right now, be patient, turn your machine off, come back to it again. There is very or nothing you can do except, as other people are finding, maybe use a different type of computer, use a different type of operating system, and this is what much bigger organizations are realizing now, that perhaps not everything should we rely on just one player. But it'll be interesting to see what the share price for Microsoft does. But of course, the stock exchange is down at the moment as well, so we couldn't find out anyway.
It does again show you just how reliant we are now in every part of our everyday life on computers.
Yeah, and I don't think that that's a bad thing. And I don't think we should be throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And I don't think we should be going back to putting things on whiteboards and using pens and paper to fill out things. Don't get me wrong. We have to when the electricity is out, you have to use a candle or a torch. I understand that. But let's not be bashing the idea of progress in computers. Think about all the hours where there aren't problems. And of course, they are much higher. It might be 99.99% of the time we have a great time with computers and they add a huge amount to all our lives. It's just this moment in this day. And we hope it's not a whole day. And I have a gut feeling, because there's some very clever brains behind the scenes, that it won't be a whole day. But isn't it amazing that just in a couple of hours, this can happen? And I love the fact the resilience of people around the globe. I love the power of the human spirit, that we don't rely on computers too much. And human beings have come together and collaborated and done some pretty sensible stuff to keep the world going.
Well, let's speak to our Paris correspondent, Hugh Schofield, one of many areas impacted by this global outage, not least ahead of the Olympics there, Hugh.
Yeah, obviously Paris is at a critical phase now, just a week ahead of the opening ceremony, Friday week, a week today. And the news that came in this morning was that the Olympics preparations have been impacted by this power cut, but only in a very limited way. What they're saying is that accreditations and the distribution of uniforms to staff has been disrupted. We have a colleague at the BBC who was trying to get her accreditation this morning and it was put off. So clearly a computer fault there was, the computer fault was being felt there. But other than that, they're saying that life is going on as planned. At sites like here, the Place La Concorde, final preparations are underway. The Olympic flame is circulating on its last legs, and ticketing is unaffected. The only other area where they say there might be some problem is that arriving delegations may be held up because of airline problems, but that's obviously not linked to any problems with the Olympics Committee itself. So an impact, but it would seem a very limited one here.
This is BBC News. Hello, you're with our continuing coverage. Do stay with us.